What's up, dog? It's Caleb Jones. This is the Sovereign CEO podcast on how to internationalize your life for very cheap, save money on taxes, lower your cost of living, move to a less bad country, at least set up an international backup plan, and do all these things for very little money. A core part of Sovereign CEO is your location independent business, an Alpha 2.0 business that you own and control 100% with no employees. You can have a staff, you can have teams with no employees, where you make at least $85,000 a year US or more, or a lot more if you want. That is 100% location independent, where you can be anywhere in the world and the money keeps coming in regardless of where you are. Having a business like that requires two things. It requires a period of time to build up that business to that income of $85,000 a year plus. And then it requires X amount of time and effort to put in on a weekly basis to maintain and or scale that income, which means you have something to wrestle with. If you are not naturally a hardworking person, and unfortunately in the collapsing Western world in which we find ourselves, most people, certainly most men these days, are not in that category. They are not hardworking. They are actually the opposite. And with every generation of men, it gets worse. The millennial generation was worse than my generation, Generation X, and my Generation X was not very good. My generation, if you don't remember or you weren't alive back then, in the early 90s, when my generation was young in our early to mid 20s, we were called by society slackers. We were the slacker generation. And they were kind of right, because Generation X didn't work as hard as prior generations. Even the baby boomers, in their time when they were younger, worked pretty hard. Certainly the greatest generation before that worked very hard. Did the baby boomers work as hard as the greatest generation? No. Did Gen X work as hard as baby boomers? No. And then we have millennials, and they got much worse. And now we have guys in Gen Z, and they're even worse than the millennials. God knows what the generation after Gen Z will look like. They'll probably just lay in bed all day and just all get fat and not go anywhere. Probably that bad. So with every new generation, this laziness factor increases. Now you could say, well, how would you be if you had porn and video games? You can make a bunch of bullshit excuses. By the way, on that excuse really quick, because I've seen this excuse a few times. When I was a kid in the 80s, we had porn and we had video games. I've said many times, I've been playing video games since the majority of you watching this video or listening to this podcast was alive. In high school, I was playing Ultima 5, Ultima 6. I spent hours and hours a day playing video games. I love video games in the 80s. Guys who make this excuse want to pretend that video games weren't invented until 1998. Bro, have you heard of Space Invaders? The fuck? We had porn. It was harder to get to. It wasn't as good. Now, that changed in the 90s. So in the 90s, you could, here's what people did in the 90s. I did this. You could get, it was cable, right? So you could get the Playboy channel, and you could get a hacked cable box. So you could go pay some hacker guy like $150, and he would sell you a cable box that he hacked and opened up all the channels. I did this in the early 90s. Hilarious. And we had some good porn. I'm not into porn. It's not really my thing, but back when I was 22, that's a good porn. And I think that porn actually peaked in the 90s. I think 90s porn is the best porn. 80s and 70s was a little weird with the bush and, kind of weird. Today's porn is kind of gross. It's all these disgusting tattooed girls with piercings and ugly guys and not my, and I don't want to see a close-up of some chick blowing a guy. I just want to see that. So anyway, how did I get off topic? I don't know. But anyway, yes, so this laziness factor goes up every year, all right? Gets worse and worse and worse. So if you are in one of those generations, Gen X like me, okay, some of you are, most of you aren't, millennial, Gen Z, then you're going to have to battle this laziness factor, this overwhelming desire wired in from modern day collapsing Western societal programming. Oh, I shouldn't have to work that hard, and why should I have to work that hard? And that's not fair. Why do I got to work? I got to work to pay my bills. This is bullshit. I don't want to work. I don't want to be rich. This is bullshit. I got Netflix, and I got video games, and I got weed. I got all these other things that are more fun. And hey, man, or you could take this bullshit philosophical thing. Hey, man, I just want to live in the now, man. You just got to appreciate the now and live in the present, man, and live in the now. And, sorry, I'm coughing and laughing. Hang on a second. You can live in the now all you want if you're making $85,000 a year, which is statistically proven to make you the happiest. At least $85,000 a year and you're location dependent. If you make less than $85,000 a year, or you make 85 or more, but you're stuck in the city where you live to earn it, then living in the now, man, is not a good move. get to a point of long-term, consistent, stable happiness, then live in the now and stare at your navel and go meditate all you want. Okay, I'm not bashing meditation. I meditate several times a week. You get my point. So you're going to have to wrestle with this. Now, am I perfect at this? No, but I am very, very good. I'm probably in the upper, not probably, I am. I'm probably, not probably, I am. I'm in the upper 5% of terms of hardworking people in the world, especially lately. I will time, my phone is right there. I use an app called Toggle, T-O-G-G-L. I time everything I do. At the end of every day, I log it. And then my team runs reports on where I'm spending my time and how many work hours I'm putting in per day. A typical day, so a typical day for most workers, you're getting about 3 hours of real work done. Even if you have a 9-to-5 job, yes, you're at the office 8 hours, but are you working? No. You're farting around the internet, you're taking breaks, you're talking to your coworkers, you're on the phone with your wife, your girlfriend, right? You're fucking around. The typical worker, I believe the number is something like 2 hours and 45 minutes of real work per day. On an average typical day, and the last few weeks have not been typical. I've been hitting it hard because I was moving recently and I didn't put a lot of time in, so I have to make up for this. Average typical day, I'm working 7.5 real work hours per day. That is double the average person. And that is 7 days a week. Normal people have things called weekends, which I think are stupid. They just don't work all day Saturday and all days, which is stupid. Again, if you're making $85,000 a year, location dependent, you're very happy with your income, you're happy with your life, take all the time off you want. If you're not there, that's stupid. You see the difference in attitude between me and the typical millennial Gen Z? Hey man, I don't want to, you see how there's a different mental framework behind how I feel about work and how most people today feel about work? By the way, if you listen to Andrew Tate videos, he says the same thing I'm saying. He talks about I don't get lazy, I work hard, I bust my ass. Yeah. Yes, that's one of the things about Andrew Tate that I like. He promotes a hard work lifestyle. Great, good for him. Lately, I have been putting in 9 to 10 hour days. Now, these are not 9 to 10 hour days. When you say 9 to 10 hours, that's about a 14-hour workday. I'm getting 9 to 10 hours of real work done. Amazingly productive, amazingly hardworking, and I have no problem doing that because I want what I want. I'm devoted to my goals, I'm devoted to my objectives. I feel a spiritual connection to my outcomes. It's something I want badly. And I've talked about why I want what I want. I've talked about how when I was a little kid, my family had no money and we were very poor, especially compared to other people in our neighborhoods and people I went to school with, because I went to a private Catholic school. There were a lot of rich kids there and I was the poor kid. And later, by the time I was in high school, my parents started making more money, had a nicer house, but that's when I moved out and it didn't help. So I have these thoughts in my head about being poor and hating it, and I hated being poor. I had many brothers and sisters, they didn't mind for some reason. There's just a difference in personality, I guess. I hated it. When I moved out of my house at age 18, I would regularly, I've talked about this many times, I would regularly pay my electric bill 4 months late because I didn't have the money. And I figured out you could pay up to 4 months before they shut off your electricity. So I'd pay it once every 4 months. There were days I couldn't put gas in my car when I was 18, 19 years old. I remember those days. I'd have car trouble and I couldn't repair my car, and I have all this stress about, oh my God, how do I repair my car? I need $700 to fix my used piece of shit car. How do I, oh my God. And I remember those days and I don't ever want to go back to those. Plus, I also feel a strong connection to my mission. By the way, I'm giving you hints here on how to become non-lazy. A, develop pain you're running away from. B, develop a mission that you feel strongly about that it's running to. So Alex Hormozi's even talked about this. You can run away from something or run towards something. I do both. Some people run away to something. So Alex Hormozi talked about, I just didn't want to be broke. I was terrified of being poor, and I share that. So I run away from that. I also run away from, and I've mentioned this before, being poor in my old age has always been a recurring subconscious subliminal fear for me. When I was in high school, I've told this story once or twice, me and my best buddy Frank, we would do the same thing every lunch. Every lunch hour, it was an open campus. You could leave high school, as long as you're back by the next period, you were okay. We would go to a fast food restaurant like McDonald's. We had a fast food restaurant in the Pacific Northwest called Burgerville, it's still there. And pull up, we'd order our same order. I remember my order. It was 2 double cheeseburgers and a hot fudge sundae. And back when you're 18, you could eat like that and look great. I looked great when I was 18 because your metabolism's awesome when you're 18. Today when you're 51, you can't do that. But anyway, and oftentimes the woman in the little booth serving our food and taking our money was a woman who was probably in her late 70s, was an old lady. And I was horrified by this. Then I went, my God, she's lived her whole life and she has no money, and now she has to spend the rest of her life working at a fucking fast food restaurant. When I was over my consulting career, I've met many old guys in the consulting world who were in their 50s. This is back when I was in my 20s and 30s, 50s, maybe 60s. And they made okay incomes, but they had no net worth. They literally live paycheck to paycheck every month. So like, look, if I lose my income, I can't pay my rent. And the man saying this would be like 55 years old. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is 55 years old. He has been working for 35 years. He has been working longer than I've been alive, and he has no money. And that's horrifying to me. So I remember this. So I run away from that. So when I feel a little lazy, like, oh man, I don't really feel lazy, but there are days that I have work I don't want to do. I'm like, oh man. Back in my subconscious, like, do you want to be poor? Do you want to be poor now? Do you want to be poor when you're 70? Do you want that? And I go, oh, no. And my runaway objective kicks in. So that's your run away from. Now, run to. I talk about mission, Alpha Male 2.0, right? Mission, having a strong mission that you're connected to. Something that has meaning beyond, I want to make a lot of money because I want to buy a Bugatti. That's stupid. That's fine if you're 28 years old. Here's the problem. You're not going to be 28 for the rest of your life. You'll be 28 for a very brief period of time. Then you'll be 35, 40, 45, 55, 65, 75. And getting rich so you could buy a Bugatti to look cool on Instagram is not going to motivate you. I'm sorry, it's not. If you're under the age of 35, maybe. But that's only a small percentage of your life. You need something. I teach mission. That is a bigger meaning. That is the meaning behind why you do what you do. That is your running toward. And I have both these things. So when I say I sit down and I literally put in 9 hours of work, real work. Yes, I take breaks, but I put in 9 hours of real work a day, 7 fucking days a week. That's how I'm able to do it. And if you don't do that, or that sounds horrific to you, or even, we're not even talking about that. Don't use my example. Let's use a normal example. You have a 9-to-5 job that you hate. You're location dependent. Okay, you want to start an Alpha 2.0 business on the side. You know it's going to take a few hours a day in the evenings and maybe a few hours on Saturday, and you don't do it. You know why you don't do it? You're letting your societal programming of, you don't have to work that hard, who cares, come on. You're letting that invade your mind because you don't have a runaway from or a runaway to. You have neither, you don't have anything. You have no compelling reason to not be lazy. You have to develop, or a better word for this is uncover, the reasons why you are lazy. And a strong percentage of you, and I hate to say this, but it's true, are fucking lazy, especially you younger guys. Some of you older guys are lazy too, but usually it's a younger guy thing. Most of you older guys get your ass to work. I love you guys. A lot of you younger guys, and I want to be fair, there is a strong component of you younger guys in my audience who are working really hard, who are kicking ass and making a lot of money. My son's in that category. I know a lot of you are in the category. I love you guys. Keep going. Don't stop until you hit your objectives. But there's a lot of you who are lazy fucks. And you admit you're lazy fucks. And you'll never be happy. Does that mean you have to work the rest of your life 9 hours a day? Do you think I'm going to put in 9 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of my life? No, I've stated 10,000 times. I have a very specific life plan that I've been operating under for many years now, a long, long time. And I'm 51 years old. When I hit 54, I'm going to change a bunch of things. I'm going to cut back my work hours and do a bunch of big changes. But not yet. And one of the big reasons, again, I'm working this hard is I want to hit those objectives I set for myself at age 54. Okay? And I have another feeling, oh God, if I don't get to work, 54 will come and I will not hit those objectives, and I'm going to have to make some very difficult decisions. And I don't want to make difficult decisions. Now, I'm on track for these objectives. I'm doing very well. Even with the current problems I've had in my business, which I talk about in other podcasts, I'm still doing, the macro picture is looking really, really, really fucking good. So I'm optimistic. I'll probably hit it before I'm 54. Matter of fact, I'm going to. But anyway, that's another reason I have. So you need to develop and or uncover the reasons where you won't be fucking lazy. And is this easy? No, but it requires you sitting down and thinking this through. Looking yourself in the mirror and having a difficult conversation with yourself. What do you want for your life? What do you not want for your life? What are you willing to do to get it? And there's a percentage of you who aren't going to do this and just say, you know what, it's just not worth it. I'll just make excuses the rest of my life and have a shitty job and, and just deal and go down with the ship when the Western world collapses and Caleb can do it. And guys like Caleb, but I can't, which is not true. It's bullshit. You're making this shit up. But most of you who are currently lazy can convert into something that is non-lazy. Does that mean you have to be a workaholic psychopath like me? No, I'm an extreme example, okay? I'm not typical. I'm not expecting you to work the hours that I work. And I mean that. Now, there's a percentage of you in some of our coaching programs, you should work the hours I work because you have big goals like I do. But most of you in the audience, $85,000 a year, location-dependent income is all you need. You don't have to work 9 hours a day, 7 days a week to hit that. You don't, not even close. Not even close. But you're going to have to work a little harder than you're currently working, you lazy fuck. You're going to have to put in a little more time. And if you refuse to do this, as I've talked about before, we live in a collapsing civilization. If this was the 1950s, you could just coast and society would take care of you. Those days are long gone many, many decades ago. They are never coming back, even if you elect Donald Trump president for life for the rest of eternity. Those days are never coming back. It's up to you now, unfortunately. That's it. Think about this. Do what you need to do to stop being lazy so you can get this shit done. Develop pain, which is running from. Develop a compelling running to. And for most of you, you'll need more of a running from. Maybe it's mostly a running from thing because that's easier. Fine. It doesn't matter. Running from or running to, pick one that you get excited about. I do both, but that's weird. Most people need one or the other. But do it. So you can start putting in the time to getting these things done, which are not that hard. Cool? Cool. See you soon. Bye.